Welcome to Newline99. On June 4th of 2019, a fascinating contest was announced on the AtariAge forum, a 10-liner program contest for the TI-99. Vorticon on AtariAge announced the rules, which were pretty straightforward. Entrants can enter as many programs as they want, use TI Basic or any version of Extended Basic currently available. Programs cannot exceed 10 lines. After the program is in memory, you can no longer access storage. So you can't call run to start other programs, you can't open data files or any of that stuff. Entries are submitted as disk images on the AtariAge contest thread itself. So fire up those emulators. Submissions are permitted until July 31st, 2019, midnight GMT. Entries are judged by public poll on the website. One winner is chosen in the TI Basic category and the Extended Basic category, and prizes are listed. The contest is now closed. There were 12 entries using Extended Basic and 4 using Standard TI Basic. With the requirement of such a confined space as 10 line numbers or less for a whole program, writing something that has the function of a whole playable game is a difficult challenge. There are several strategies you could use to make a program efficient, and Extended Basic is a good bit easier than Standard Basic. In Extended Basic, you have the ability to put numerous commands on a single line, appending multiple commands with a double colon. You can use sprites, which have some automatic handling. There are several commands like call sprite and call motion that allow you to set multiple objects all at one time. If statements in Extended Basic allow you to put commands immediately after conditions, instead of only line numbers to branch to, so you consolidate lines of code. Using TI Basic is a lot more difficult. In TI Basic, you can only have one command per line. You can still use some commands that allow multiple operations. Read and data statements allow you to set multiple variables all at once. Print allows you to display multiple formatted lines using formatting symbols like comma and colon. If statements in Basic can only direct control to line numbers, so you have to use them very efficiently. Combine your comparisons with logical and arithmetic operators. You can also use on-goto to make your branch programming more efficient, but there are really only certain rare situations that on-goto can help you in a 10-line program. When typing lines into TI Basic, you'll find that the basic entry interface will only allow you to type in 4 rows of code per program line, and 5 rows if you're using Extended Basic. This is an artificial boundary. There's a trick using rem statements that allows you to exceed this limitation a little bit. For example, if you start a line with a rem statement followed by several control characters, for example Control U, when you go back to edit the line, it will scroll more of the screen up, allowing you to type more code into your line. But understand that after you get past the artificial boundary, there's also a data size boundary waiting for you. But even with all that, TI Basic leaves barely any room to spare. Let's say you have to prepare the screen with at least one print statement, set variables with read, hold their values with data, accept keyboard or joystick input, process one thing, update the one thing on the screen, check for the end of the game, loop with a goto statement, and finally end the program with a result like you win or you lose. Well, that's 9 theoretical lines already. That's why the challenge in TI Basic is so fascinating. After the contest was done, it sparked interesting discussions of coding theory and strategy. So here's the list of the 16 entries in the contest. Let's take a look at them and show all the whiz-bang stuff they did. And we'll start with the basic category. First, there's Tip by DigDugNate, which is a quickie tip calculator. Enter the pre-tip amount, the percentage of the tip, and then it gives you the tip amount. It's a simple program. They even rounded the answer to 2 decimal places. To the entrant's credit, the rules didn't say anything about the entries having to be games, so good work. Swamp Path Blues. Don't get boggy feet, it tells you. From the user TI Basic, in Swamp you are the star in the middle and you use the 1 and 3 keys to navigate the winding path. Score shows how many steps you've taken. This was my personal favorite. Efficient use of stuff that TI Basic does well. The print command naturally scrolls the screen up, which is perfect for a vertical scrolling game. Clever use of the cursor character 30 as a boundary marker outlining your path in the game. Line 6 uses logical comparisons to calculate which direction to go based on the keyboard input. Clever programming in the confined space. If you wander out of bounds, line 8 just goes back to itself, freezing the game, which is a perfect thing to do when you run out of lines. I dig it. Alpha 10 is my entry. Letters are descending the screen 3 at a time toward the ground. To vanquish each letter, you hold down that letter on the keyboard. I love the experiment of creating a semi-complicated set of operations in TI Basic in as small a space as 10 lines. I use a single variable to store the horizontal vertical position as well as the alphabet character. Line 6 is responsible for making the letter move down the screen, check if that letter is currently being pressed, and if it is, set up a brand new letter on a random column at the top of the screen. I was pretty aggravated that dim took up a whole line by itself. But because of it, the game actually supports any number of enemies. By changing the length of the array in the dim line and changing the for loop to that maximum, you can set it to 10 or so enemies and overspeed your emulator for a bit more interesting play. Touchdown by user TI Basic is a lunar lander. The amount of fuel that you have is shown on your player piece. Use the keys 1 through 9 on the keyboard to add thrust to reduce your descent rate, to make a soft touchdown at less than 10 meters per second. This programmer used an interesting technique, using call clear in the main loop to update the player position, instead of having to erase the previous location with HCHAR. And doing so had the added benefit of clearing the screen at the beginning of the game without having to call clear twice in the program. The call HCHAR that displays the player position is also craftily used with some comparisons to decide which graphic to display. You'll notice line 10 is 6 rows long, so they probably use the rim trick to scroll a bunch of lines in advance. Nice job! And we go to the extended basic category. Cannon by Adam Hass is a straightforward target game. Set the angle and power of your shot and try to hit the target. The interface is simple and elegant, but it can be surprisingly difficult. Right away you'll notice that the lines are longer on the extended basic programs, with several concatenated commands on each. That allows the programmer some liberty to put more in the game, including color graphics, sounds, and sprites, for a bit more interesting game experience, still within the confines of 10 lines of code. Trigonometric functions are being used to calculate the aim and trajectory. Adam used the extended basic max and min functions, a good way to build in numeric decisions without wasting space on if statements. Looks great. Python, also by Adam, is a Frogger-style arcade game. The more pythons you get across the highway, the harder and faster it gets. Great looking color graphics. Even an animated player sprite is a nice touch. Adam was able to pile all the code in 8 lines and then add a bunch of character definitions at the end. Crisp and clean design. Way to go. In Newline99, you're a miner, here to collect as much gold as you can. Farmer Potato's mining game is very colorful and well put together. Nice map generator for a 10-liner. Also an extra little trick using 2 overlapping sprites to give additional color to the scene. Nice work. Boat Bomber is an ambitious and colorful game. You're the blue fighter and have to bomb the boats below while dodging the red fighter. The terrain scrolling effect in the background is a nice addition. This is the first entry we see in Rich Extended Basic, or RXB, which user Bone69 has a good bit of experience in. It can save a lot of space by letting you initialize a ton of stuff efficiently and give you useful added features to work with. A lot of those unique advantages are on show here. Good job, mate. In Bleep 2019 by BleepBit, you're an astronaut on a mission to rescue your marooned colleagues. Collect them all without getting hit by asteroids or you'll become marooned yourself. Nice graphic design. The orientation of the playing field sets it up so that the obstacles and collectibles are all in their own columns. So if any of them collide, it'll be the player sprite that collided with something. Calling coincidence against all sprites is the quickest way to detect either an astronaut collection or an asteroid collision. Excellent work. In Micro Tower by Farmer Potato, you grab elevator passengers at the ground floor of a building and take them to another floor. If you receive a construction worker, take him to the top and he'll build you a new floor. Once you get all the way to the top of the screen, well, you win. Good use of programming space. Even managed to jam-pack the lines and fit the whole program in 9 lines. Awesome. Next is Mastermind by Lucien de. A simple version of the Mastermind game. Enter a 4-digit number using digits 1 through 6 and it'll tell you how close you are to guessing the code. The second to last column tells you how many numbers are in the exact right position, and the last column tells you how many numbers are in the final code, just not in the correct position. And that should lead you to guessing the exact code. Most of the code goes into making the interface nice and clean. I'm addicted to this entry. I keep going back to it and replaying it. Love this one. In Wobble by Vorticon, the player maneuvers a ball around the maze to reach the square target before running out of time. You have to keep control of the ball because it'll want to veer around the playing field filled with obstacles that you can't touch. The game is challenging and colorful. Look at this cascading else command on line 40. If then else, if then else, if then else, if then else. That's a pretty metal way to process keyboard inputs. Awesome job, Vorticon. Adventure by Samuel Pedigo is a parody of a text adventure, with a wink and a nod to the lack of complexity 10 lines of code can actually afford the text adventure genre. It's so meta. The program is a back and forth of input and print, including a sassy rim statement about how many lines are left, and a jump over one line that's never run at all. I'm not going to accept any more input. You know what? You win. We can all appreciate this one. The struggle is real. Quite complex for a 10-liner, Tetravex by Senior Falcon is a puzzle game. Take the squares on the right side and arrange them on the left side so that the numbers on the edge of each block match the numbers on the edges of all adjacent blocks. Falcon uses the def keyword a lot to define reusable code and save a lot of space. The program even allows customization of board size by changing one parameter. Quite a feat. Great work. Next up, another program written in RxB, Game Engine X by KL99 is a cute idea and an innovative concept. It pretty faithfully captures the feel of a Game & Watch. There's packing of data into a string, lots of fancy footwork with variables, joystick and button control, uses the RxB command call moves to move blocks of memory, it uses call IO to manage the GPL sound list address, the handling of player sprite peeks and pokes to the VDP directly, a lot of tricks. Quite the RxB power user, nicely done. And finally, Gladiator by Farmer Potato is a side-by-side fighter game. Use the joystick up, down, left, and right, and button to land a hit on the computer opponent. The player character is comprised of 3 sprites of 3 different colors, which is a nice touch when you can get away with it. Very clean and elegant 10-liner. Prepare the screen, set variables, set all the character definitions, define the sprites, read and process the joystick, randomize the opponent's next action, determine the outcome of the current frame. Line 90 handles a strike on the opponent, line 100 handles a strike on the player. Came out great. The community voted, and the results are in. And out of the 19 votes in the 2 categories, the winners were user TI Basic for Swamp in the Basic category, and user KL99 for Game Engine X in the Extended Basic category. Congratulations to the winners, and great job to everybody who participated. It was so fun seeing everybody's ingenuity, designs, and 10-line survival instincts. The link to the posts about the contest are in the description of the video. Make sure you check out the programs that people have come up with. They are definitely worth going back to. That's all this time. Catch you next time from Newline99.